Good evening. So last session we discussed about how we can handle communication with API. yeah. So what we done? Yeah. So we learned the communication with API. So difference between fetch and jQuery AJAX. So we use AJAX method. We saw an example of both how we can get and post. Now, same we can achieve by using other third parties. Other third parties, another third party, I will show you a simple overview, that is how we can use Axios. Axios, how we can work with Axios. So Axios to communicate with the APIs, right? How do we use Axios to communicate with the API? As I already told you that so many third parties are there. Axios is one third party. What are the features are nothing but actually it returns data in JSON, just like jQuery AJAX also returns data in JSON, and it handles CORS, so more secured. That means it prevents cross-site scripting attacks, request forgery, etc. All such things, right? Another, it can handle even multiple requests. Multiple requests also it can handle. So better error tracking, right? It can easily identify the errors. More better error support when compared to jQuery AJAX and all these things, right? So Axios, it's not mandatory that you have to use this, just like I told you, depending on requirement. Now, how do we use syntactically? It's also for jQuery AJAX only. Just you have to use Axios. Axios uses a method, so that means it uses attributes, like it have method indicates either it is get or post. So and it have url is nothing but your API URL. So it is API URL, and it also have option like data, so that is nothing but the data to post. So we can use all these things, and usually it is a promise. Actually it can use then, that means it is a, so it is a callback. Then is nothing but just I will give here, it is a callback on success. So usually there are so many ways of writing actually. That means you have shortcut techniques. It means not necessary to write like this. You can simply use axios.get. So, and you can define the URL here, and you can use then function. So, or you can also use multiple requests. Like as I told you, another syntax, you can write like axios.axios. And in the Axios options, you can put an array. Right? At array have options. That means here, so in this array, you can configure multiple options. That means here you can define a method. So here you can define an URL. So this is at a 0 index, am I right? That is at 0 index. This is the first request. And similarly, we have another request, another method, another URL. This is one index. That means it can handle multiple requests also. So lot of features, advantages are there when compared to general jQuery AJAX. So it depends on your requirement. You can go with fetch, you can use jQuery AJAX, or you can use Axios. I will show you one example. So how we can manage the same thing with the Axios. So for that, what we have to do, first we have to install so Axios library. So you have to set that npm install Axios and save, right? So let's go to the project here. And in this project, yeah, in this project, let's install Axios. So I will go to this, and in the terminal npm install Axios save, right? We are installing Axios library. Right, it is successfully installed, right? Once it is successfully installed, this Axios, now you can use this in your components. So how to use, let's put one component here. So add a new file, Axios demo, right? Axios demo.js. So here we have to import. So from export default function and Axios demo, that is the function. So let's return a simple presentation. So container fluid, and here I will just give as some products, right? So an ordered list. Okay, so not products, we will have our users, na? We will have our users, ordered list. Okay, now here we have to import. So import Axios from Axios. We have to import this Axios, and let's create a simple state also here. So import, so use state and use effect from React, and let's configure a constant. So that is users, set users, and it is use state, and it is an array. Okay, so we will write use effect, and in this we will use the callback with the dependencies, and here we will just use Axios dot get, right? And you can get directly the URL. That is the URL is http://localhost for, right? And in the get users. Now you have dot then. So this is a callback function. Now this callback function, so will get response. Actually, here little bit different. Generally in jQuery, the response is returned in JSON data. Actually, in Axios, I have to tell that here. Actually, Axios response is response object consists of various response details. That means like it contains various response details like status code, like status text, like headers. Like this, it contains lot of details. Status code means it will return the status code like 200, like 404, like 302. These are the status codes actually. Status like okay, like not found, like method. So all these are state text. It means content. So that is actually we call as MIME type. So and request type. All these things are defined in headers. So and not only that, it also returns data. Response contains data. That means data present in requested URL, right? That you can access using data. Actually, in jQuery Ajax, directly data comes, but in Axios, response is not data. Response is an object which contains a lot of details. We can use all these details to track the issues in the response. That means if it is response status code is 404, that means your requested URL not found. Like this, you can use that option. So here, what we have to do is actually response returns all these details. You see, I will use here response. Response is an object. You can see it contains a lot of things. Headers, data, configuration, request, status text, and all this. So you can use all these details, but I want only data. I want only the data, right? So that means what we will do. So set users. Into that, we have to send response dot data. We have to send response dot data. That's it. Actually, this is a promise. It can use catch. Catch means it is a callback. If any error occurred, it can report the error. So catch uses a callback function, and this callback function will return an exception, right? And if any problem is there, we will log that problem. Exception, we have exception directly, it will display all the messages. That means whatever exception occurred, you know that catch is a handler block. Handler block. And we have finally catch throw finally. Finally will execute every time, even when the condition satisfied or not, right? So here, so this Axios contains all this, and here I have to add this. We have catch and we have finally. These are the methods it have. That means you need to configure all these methods, then call back on success. Then we have another catch. This is callback on failure, right? And we have another finally. So this callback every time. So these are the Axios related method options. That means how you can configure. So then catch finally. Actually, this is called as, we call this as promises. Promise. These are called promises, right? So in JavaScript, these are all called as promises. The fetch is very popular promise in JavaScript. That means, so if anyone asks what's this fetch, then technically answer is fetch is a promise. So in JavaScript, what is a promise? So promise contains the sense to execute. The situation is mapped with one set of statements, not it will execute another. That promise will change according to the situation, right? Actually, these are all promises. That means Axios, all these words, even jQuery Ajax is also a promise. Fetch is a promise, jQuery Ajax is a promise. Actually, if you know jQuery, not only jQuery Ajax, generally jQuery people can use, I hope you know, we have $.ajax. This is to request any kind. Actually, many times you will see people using get.json also. There is a get JSON method. It is only for JSON. But AJAX is used for HTML, JSON, any kind of file. Any kind of file you can request with AJAX. But get JSON is also AJAX, but it returns only JSON. It is used only for JSON. Right? AJAX have a lot of lifecycle methods. Na? I hope you know those lifecycle methods. What are those? We have AJAX start. Am I right? So we have like AJAX end. So we have like AJAX complete. Am I right? AJAX complete. We have like AJAX success. We have like AJAX error. All these are actually AJAX lifecycle hooks actually. That means every AJAX request have a life cycle. These are all life cycle hooks of AJAX. That is in jQuery. So here, that is why these are all promises actually. So now this Axios also is using this technique. Now what? It's very simple. Everything is fine that you defined here. Now what we have to do? We have to access all the users. That means here I will give a simple users. That means we will use users dot map. So we will get every user and we will print a list item. And here we will add user dot user ID. We have that user ID there. Let's put a key user dot user ID. And let's make this available in the startup. This is Axios demo. Okay. And let's do one more because you are using your own API. Huh? So make sure that that API is running. Huh? So now node API.js. Right. It started. Then we will start our project. npm start. Okay. This is basically how we use AJAX and Axios. Axios post also same. I will give a example with routing concept as I already told you. Posting also same. Only the point how we define. Generally AJAX post option how to define Axios. Axios post is nothing but we have to use Axios dot post. You have to define the URL and you have to send the data. That's it. Just like how you defined in jQuery AJAX, same. That means you can write in a detailed way like this Axios. And here we can write the options. What are the options? Method is what? Post. And URL. So here URL is your URL HTTP localhost, that is 4000 register user, right? Register user. And actually, so it is expecting data, right? We have to pass the data same. This data is nothing but values. Values means we are using Formic. In Formic, whatever the values are there, those values we will pass. Formic values we pass. So directly post can work in this way, right? So creating a post option also same. So with a good routing concept, we can implement this complete example. You can use fetch or you can use jQuery AJAX or you can use Axios. Yeah, that is all the users information available. So whatever users are there, we are fetching them and displaying. So post method also we will do with a good screen interface, right? Creating the interface. So this is one example. You have to install Axios. Then example is this. So Axios demo.js. Let me copy this code for you, right? Here I just used only fetching. We will later design an example for both post and get, right? Now this is how we can import and use Axios as a third party library, right? This is general interaction with APIs using various techniques: fetch, jQuery, Ajax, and Axios. But in order to create a good interface to handle all the communication, to create a good interface, now in React, we have to know, to implement this in a proper interface, you have to know a very important concept, that is routing. So React routing, this is very major concept for us. So technically, what is routing? So technically, what is routing? What is the purpose of routing, right? What is the concept of routing? Actually, web applications use various types of objects and techniques. Generally, web applications use various types of objects and techniques. Working with web application is working with a lot of objects and techniques. What are objects? So regular objects in web development. Actually, web development, we have objects like request object. We have object like response object. We have like session object. We have like application object. We have like cookie object. All these comes under objects. Working with a web application is and techniques. So REST object, response object, session object, application object, cookie object, these are all very popularly used objects in web development for different purpose. In web applications, have different situations to handle. And very important regular techniques in web development, you will come across with a lot of techniques used by developers, like caching is a technique. I hope you heard about that. Caching is a technique. Model binding is a technique. Data binding is a technique. Event binding is a technique. Event binding is a technique. Style binding is a technique. Style binding, now we call it as class binding, is a technique. Class binding is a technique. We have routing is a technique. In web applications, lot of techniques are used. Caching, model binding, data binding, event binding, style binding, class binding, routing, all these are techniques. That means in web development, any technology you are using, Java, .NET, PHP, Python, related to web. So it involves all this. I hope you are a Java developer or a .NET developer or a PHP, Python developer. You hear all these words regularly in your. All web technologies have these techniques, but they handle in their own ways, right? So what is caching? In simple way, what you can say about caching is, caching saves round trips. In simple terms, technical terms, caching will save round trip. That means if I want some data to request every time, same data have to be requested every time, you can cache and use it. that saves round trips, lot of round trips, right? Model binding I explained, remember that? Model binding I explained that. So React model binding MVC architecture, that means how it maps to the model, right? How it maps to the data, how it maps to the data, how it uses the data. Data binding is how to fetch the data present in the UI, how to collect the modifications, update. Event binding, how to handle the interactions, style, class, how to apply dynamically. Routing, actually, so this is what we are going to deal. So generally, routing routing is a technique. Routing is a technique used in modern web applications to configure user and to configure user. So to configure user and SEO friendly URLs. User and SEO friendly URLs. It is used to configure user and SEO friendly URLs. That means routing is a technique used in modern web applications to configure user and URLs. What is meant by user friendly URL? Actually, user friendly URL is nothing but, so user friendly URL allows the user to query any content directly from URL. That makes easy to query any content directly from URL. Actually, it is not there earlier. That means in old web development we don't have this concept. I don't know from years you are using internet, right? But in the beginning days, almost 1995, 96 is the period when internet was introduced to India, right? In India started using internet in the early 95, 96. During that time, we started using internet. Actually, we came across knowing about internet and all these things. I don't know you used internet at that time. You born or not? I don't know. Huh? You born? Huh? You all have not floppy CDs, floppies. Huh? Actual concept is, I don't know you have used internet during those times or not. Even today, I have my old diary. In the diary, I have a list of website addresses noted down. List of website address noted down. That is like a joke these days, huh? Right? But do you know, in the early days when we started using internet, we have to exactly spell everything correctly, HTTP and www. If anything went wrong, then it will not show any suggestions. I am talking about before Google. We have Yahoo, MSN search engines very popular, right? MSN and Yahoo were the search engines very popular. Before you know about Facebook, you know Orkut. You heard about that? Orkut was a social networking. After that, Facebook came. Right? Before Facebook, Orkut. Before Orkut, we have Yahoo groups. Social networking, like, right? These are all olden days. In these days, when you type anything, so it is very strict. You miss a spelling, you miss some .com or .org, it will simply say not found, no suggestions, until or unless I remember the correct URL. That means I have to check my diary once, open it and type it correctly. This we have to do earlier, right? That means these days you type even a spelling mistake, then it says, do you mean this? Right? These days search engines are more convenient. So URLs are more user friendly. Earlier URLs are very complex. These days you are trying typing some keywords in a browser URL, and it is searching for those keywords and using in default search engine and showing results. Suppose Edge uses a default search engine called Bing. Chrome uses default search engine called Google. You can change default search engines, you can change. It uses the default search engines. For example, you see here I am opening Edge. I am typing for React routing library and enter. That is not a valid URL, right? But I am just using the keywords. It uses a Bing search engine. By using that, it will get that information. Earlier, we don't have this. That means in the early days of web development, we don't have this. If you have URL means only URL, nothing else, right? But now it is possible to do so many such things. This is because of routing. Because of routing, every technology knows routing, and every technology is using routing, not only React, right? Every technology have routing. Server side routing is there, client side routing is there. In React and Angular, you will learn client side routing. In .NET and other technologies, you can have server side routing. Server side also routing will be there. So client side, server side routing makes user friendly URLs. User friendly URL. It is more easy to query also. For example, so without routing, suppose it looks like this. Suppose http://www.amazon.in/electronics.jsp or php or some ASPX. Now in this we have question mark, category is equal to mobiles, and ampersand model is equal to some Samsung. Like this we used to have. Even today you can see the URLs having such lengthy options. But now with routing, it little bit routing will allow these type of queries also. But now it is very simple. http://www.amazon.in/electronics/mobiles/Samsung. It looks like this now. That means it makes more cleaner URLs, more simplified URLs. Even a user can no need to bookmark some concepts. We have to bookmark if anything we have to visit in depth about that site. Now these days we don't need to bookmark. We can just remember some keywords and hit them. Directly we can visit them. That looks better. And this is possible because of routing. So routing makes user-friendly URLs. User-friendly URLs. And what is SEO-friendly URL? SEO-friendly URL allows search engines. So search engines to identify the exact location in page. So it is mostly required for analytics. It is mostly analytics. These days, lot of analytics depends on routing only. It completely depends on routing concept only. Analytics means I will tell you SEO friendly URL, exact location, how it can match. For example, again, same. In the beginning days of YouTube, first when YouTube came, that means when Google introduced YouTube, and we know that now we have a very big video library like YouTube. We came to know about YouTube. In the beginning days when I used YouTube, in the first day when YouTube came into existence, so lot of categories are there. I searched almost 10-15 minutes, and finally I found one video in some lengthy hierarchy of category. Somewhere I found a video, and I forgot even I forgot. I want to show that video to another friend somewhere on his machine, on his computer. Now, this 15 minutes, what I browsed, right? In which category I selected, which subcategory I have seen, so that I forgot. And when I go there again, I need to spend in recognizing where that is a present. In the early days of YouTube, we have this problem, right? Now you just visit some videos. Next day, it will ask you to continue where you left. Right? It will ask to continue where you left. Now, analytics are so great that it will even suggest you the content type that you have watched. So you are regularly watching some sports videos, then it will recommend those type of videos, analytics. Not only that, see one interesting point. You opened some Amazon. In Amazon, you searched for some product. You haven't purchased, just searched, browsed some product. Close Amazon. You open Make My Trip and search from flight, hotels, tickets, and all these things. Close. Now open your Gmail or YouTube or Facebook. Suddenly you will find advertisements for them. How come? That means Make My Trip have no link with YouTube or Facebook. Then how come YouTube had, and observe carefully, it will show exactly the product you, not just Amazon advertisement, exactly the product you searched. How come it can exactly know my location in a page? That is routing. That is one of the concept of routing. Routing, that means don't think that routing is doing all this. Routing is one of the feature. Routing is one of the feature. Lot of other features are involved in this. Routing is one feature that makes SEO friendly URLs. User friendly URLs, SEO friendly URL. Wherever you think about these kind of things, that is all because of routing. Not because only of routing. Routing is a concept for that. That is important. When you are working with routing, you should know user friendly URLs, SEO friendly URLs. Not only that, now specialty about routing is routing implicitly uses as X. Routing implicitly uses as X. Routing implicitly uses as X. That means what is the specialty about this is, that means it can load new details into page without reloading the page. It can load new details into page without content. That means whenever some new details have to come, we can load the entire page. Every time page can reload. That you can do now, you know already. For example, where suppose you see here, suppose this is a HTML page, and I just kept a heading like welcome. Now I will open this page. Now this page is there. Okay, this page is there. Now I want this page to reload every 5 seconds, because suppose it is related to some stock market or news, or some cricket match is going on. Every over new, every ball by ball new details should update into page. Right? How you can reload a page every time? Simple. You can write meta, you can write meta HTTP. So we can write meta HTTP equi is equal to refresh, and content you can set 5 seconds. What this will do is it will refresh your page every 5 seconds. That means you see here, you can see the page is reloading every 5 seconds. Yep. You can see the refresh button every 5 seconds it will be refreshing. Every 5 seconds, the page is requested again. We don't have any new content to display. We are not displaying any new content, but every 5 seconds, the page is refreshing. But we don't want the page to refresh every 5 seconds. That means we don't want the entire page to refresh every 5 seconds. That's not great idea. Because page contains lot of details. For example, you open Cricinfo, right? Suppose I open this Cricinfo, some cricket match is going on. You can see only this box will be updating every few seconds. Am I right? Not entire page. The entire page contains lot of details. Na? It cannot load these details every time. It cannot load those details every time. Only that box is refreshing every few seconds. That is Ajax. Ajax allows to submit only a specific portion of page. So that entire page is, that means your page is there, new details are coming into page without reloading the old details. This is routing can do. Routing can do. Earlier, how to do that without routing? Without routing also we done. Without routing also we designed. We use that by using jQuery Ajax. Web applications use jQuery Ajax to handle these type of concepts. Now it is possible with the help of routing. With the help of routing, we can do that. With jQuery Ajax earlier we have to do, but now it is possible. See, anything, suppose you say Google, I opened images and I say React, right? React, and you see React came. Now when I am scrolling down, then next set of images will be loading. Am I right? Next set of images are loading. And what about old? They are not loading. They are already loaded. Only details are loading. The new details are added. This is the concept of routing. That is actually the concept of routing. So that means what you can do here is, that means it can load new details into page without reloading the page. Another important, user can stay on one page and can get access to everything, onto the page. And get access to everything onto the page. That means earlier user have to navigate from one page to another. That means I have home page, from home page to login, from login to success. You need to navigate from one page to another. Now user will stay on only one page and can access everything onto that page. That is possible with the help of routing. That is what actually, that is what actually single page application. Many times people have divisions like single page application, multi-page application. That is not good. It is not like single, means many times people classify, right? Multi-page application, single page application. No, web application will have, it is not how many pages you design. It is about how you are accessing. Single page application is not about how many pages you have. It is about how you are browsing, right? Single page application is a accessing technique. That, but some people relate with one page, multiple pages. That's not correct, because even single page applications will have multiple pages, but user will not navigate from one page to another. Remember, all these multiple pages are called, actually, if it is a page, remember this point. That means, so we have, earlier we have, suppose index.html. Now what we are having, so we have having other pages, login.html, like register.html, like contact.html. So many will be there. Everything is a page. Now, very important, we are navigating from one page to another. But now what we are doing is, in this index page, we are accessing this login and we are watching that login here. But very important is, this page is not designed as a complete page. It is just designed as a component. Understand? It is just designed as a component. That is the reason here we should know one important point, that if it is not a complete HTML page, it is a part of page, only component, then we call it as partial view. We call these as partial views. And the original pages, we call them as view. That means in single page application, only one view will be there. All others will be partial. What is the concept of this technique is, user will stay on only one view, and from that he can access all other partial views. All other partial views. These types of words are directly used in .NET. In .NET like technologies, they directly use the words called partial view. So some technologies will directly use components. Components means they are equal to partial views. That means, is it a complete page? No, it is a part of page. It is a part of page, because every component is having a markup. Every component is having a markup. So can it individually run? It can individually also run. Individually it can run, but we are not doing that. What we are doing, we are using as a part of other page. What is our page? Index. That means individually they can run actually, but we designed in such a way that it can run only in that index. For example, suppose, see, it's not like, suppose this is the page. That means we have this page. This is demo page. Now it's not necessary that it have everything. Just we put a heading and welcome. Can I run this page in browser? Yes. Is it a complete page? It is not a portion of page, but it runs, right? So that is actually the concept of single page application. So we have a lot of partial views. We bring those partial views. Why we use the word view, partial view? Because React itself tells that, you see, that means it is for building user interfaces. Building JavaScript library for building interfaces. Actually, let me show you here. Any definition is there? That means a better definition here, because in some definition they will tell you clearly that it is about, let's say, entertainment. You will use the word viewer. These are overview. Yeah, you can see here it says this concept. That means React component class or component type, right? And it takes the parameters and it returns a hierarchy of views. It returns a hierarchy of views. That is the term actually. Technically it uses the word views, right? That means the UI is called as what? Views. We call the UI as views actually. So, and if it is a complete page, it is view. It is a part of page, then it is partial view. These terms are very common actually, right? So generally, what is the ability of routing? It allows you to design a perfect single page application. That actually this requires a lot of AJAX in the background, but we can handle that without using much AJAX. Everything is built in library. So actually React uses React DOM, router DOM. It uses React router DOM library for building single page application. So it uses this library for building single page application. So router DOM, it uses that. And actually it is a routing library, for React. So to use routing in your project, you need a special library. You have to import this library. But now one problem is there. The problem is actually routing library is independent from React. Routing library is independent from React. That's React version different, routing library version different. So that means actually up to 18, that means we are now using React 18. React 18 uses routing library version v6 actually. Version 6. Before React 18, that means React up to 18 routing library version is actually version is 5. Version is 5. And lot of changes are made in version 6. Version 6 have drastic changes. Lot of changes they have made in version 6. Then this is a confusion when you are working in any project after learning routing here. Why? Because the routing that you are learning is very latest techniques which are completely changed from the previous routing. So, and the majority of your companies are still using routing version 5 only. But one advantage is in 18 of React also, you can install old version routing library and use, because it is compatible. So that means even you are using React 18, you can still stick to React routing version 5, because almost 100 out of 199.9% all projects are still on React routing 5. Because now anybody started projects on React 18, then they are using this version 6. Changes are there. That means you completely fail in execution if you don't follow these changes, right? So we will first see what is there in the current version. Then I will tell you differences with old version also. Because only latest version, if you learned, it's okay, you can do it. But in companies, you may face issues because they are still using version 5. And remember, it's not necessary that whenever React version changes, route also changes. Because almost for several years, we have version 5 only. Very recently, they changed that version to 6. So that means React is 18 and version is 6 only, means routing is not often changed, right? This is not often changed. This is rarely we change actually. So we will first see version 6, then I will give you an idea of version 5 also, right? We can install old version in latest because React 18 is backward compatible. It can handle both of. I will show you the current version here. So actually, so to handle this, we have to first install. So install React router library. React router library. First, you have to install React router library. npm install React router DOM. React router DOM you have to install. If you have to install any older version, once check in npm the older version right? Then you can install that. Actually, it will be npm install react router dom v5 like this. Version 5, some minor release also will be there. You have to exactly mention that minor release version. Actually, you will find that here. We can visit React router, so official website here. This is React router. Yeah, this is the React router DOM. This is official React router website. And in this React router DOM official, actually, so this is currently version 5. This is currently version 6. Here you see it says backward compatibility is already there, right? And yeah, this is 5.1. That the previous version, minor release. You have to tell that specifically. You can upgrade from the old version to new version also. Those points I will tell you, right? How do we upgrade? But as of now, when you install router, which version will come? If you don't mention the version, the latest version will come. Obviously, if you want any specific older version, you can check. You can write it. So we will install here. We will install here. So another terminal, yeah. npm install react router dom and save. So it is downloading the React router dom and it is successfully installed. Where you can get the version, you can check in package JSON file. In the package JSON file, you will find the version of React router is 6.3. Right, that is the version you have, right? And you can install an older version. So older version, you will get 5. And if you are using 5, then syntaxes, the process of configuring everything will change. Okay, that's fine. Currently, you don't mention the version. Automatically it will install latest version, right? Now, after you install React router dom, you have to import the library. That means how we design a single page application. When you are planning for designing single page application environment, you have to make sure that, because our routing already I told you architecture, no need to explain. Routing architecture already I told you, if you remembered, component lifecycle. I told you that there will be a routing engine, there will be a routing table. I hope you remembered that architecture, right? Routing engine and route table will be there. So recent anything is there? Lifecycle. Yeah, here I already told you, right? This architecture already I explained to you. That means how it works. Whatever components are present, then when you make a request, first that request will come to routing engine. Routing engine will verify whether that requested path is available in the route table. And if it is available in the route table, then it will load and it will deliver to you, right? That is the basic approach actually. So what we have to do here is, actually in React, our application starts with index.html. In index.html, you have to mention the startup component. Understood? You have a component. Which component must be in startup? You have to mention the startup component. That means index starts with this component. Now in this component, you have to design the navigation. You have to design the navigation in this component. That means what you have to do, you have to tell, we have home, we have about, We have contact like this. And what should happen when user selects home? Actually, we have separate component, home component, am I right? We have about component. So we have contact component. That means when user clicks on home, then what it will do, it will go to this component and it will load this component. It will bring that component and load here. Right, that will component and load here. That means, are you navigating there? You are not navigating there. We are bringing it and loading here. Understood? That means from begin to end, user will stay on only one component. What is it? Startup component. Into that component, he can access all the components and view. That means user known. That means now every day you don't need to change your startup component, which you are doing now. You designed several components. Day how you are practicing, which component you designed, you making it an startup. Now you can create a simple navigation for this. You can stay on one place and you can access all your components. Let's see one simple basic approach how it is done. For that you need a lot of things, right? Lot of options. Let's see one option here. What I will do here, in the components, I will better, I will not this. What I will do is, in components I will add a folder, or in src itself we will add a folder. In src I am adding a folder. So I give this as shopping, yeah, shopping site. So I am Yeah. So yeah, let's continue. Lost connection for a while. Online people. Back. Okay. So here we are adding all these files. These are all just components actually. Shopping index. Now in all these electronics, footwear, fashion, let's put some simple data. Later we will design example, right? Export default function. This is electronics. Okay. And let it return a simple heading, some electronics home, right? Something. This is a simple approach. I will copy this. Another one. This is footwear. So this is footwear home like this. And we have some fashion. Screen is already shared. You check. Right. So here we have another footwear and footwear home. One more. We have fashion, right? And this is fashion home. Okay, like this we have components. Now we want to access all these from one place. What is that? Shopping index. That means we will create a function, export default function, shopping index, and it should return the design. So here we will keep the class name as container fluid. And here, just let me keep a simple design. Later we will design good interface. I will just as shopping index. Now here I want to implement routing. Then what we have to do is we have to first import. We have to import so many things from React Router DOM. From React Router DOM, actually you need a browser router as router. We need a browser router as router. Actually, this is nothing but it allows, because we are using virtual DOM. When you are using virtual DOM, the virtual DOM needs to interact with actual DOM. So what this browser router will do is it allows the routing to interact with the actual DOM. Then only navigation can happen. That means if you use a router, that router cannot directly interact with the actual DOM. Then navigation cannot happen. You have to make sure that your router is going to map to the browser router. Browser router is the router which is understandable to browser actual DOM. Our router should work as what? Browser router. Then we need here another option is routes. We need here route. So we need here a link. We will detailedly discuss about all the hooks available. One by one, I will give clarity. So actually, so router, so we are defining here, this entire application have to use a router. Application have to use a router. This router, I will give a simple, this router actually contains a simple ordered list or unordered list I will give. And here I will just keep a list item. And here I will create a link. I will create a link. And this link, actually, this link, this is a link. This link will have option like home, right? It will lack option like home, or as of now, I will just give as what we are having, electronics. And similarly, we have another link here. One is electronics, another one is footwear, and another one is fashion. This creates an anchor. What is difference between anchor and this link? Anchor uses navigation from one page to another or any location in the page by using ID. But link uses a route path. It uses a route path. That means you have to tell link to. So you have to tell link to. Link to which location you have to define. Link to slash, it should link to electronics, slash electronics. Similarly, this should link to slash footwear, and this should link to. So we have to use slash fashion. It should link to fashion. That means these are the links we created. After this, I will put a horizontal line, a line separated, and below this, I want the configuration of all the routes. This routes contains a route. Every route contains a route. Actually, this is nothing but the architecture I showed you. See, yeah, the architecture I showed you. See, what is this routes? It is a table. It is a table of what? Routes. We are creating this route table now. Understood? That means routes is a route table. Every route table, a route table contains collection of routes. That is, you are designing a route table. In that you are mentioning what are the routes available. And what is the route available? Here we have to define path. The route path is, if it is slash electronics, if it is electronics, which component it has to bring and load here. We have to define that by using element. Element indicates which component to bring and load here. Which component we have to bring? Electronics component. We have to import that and define here. That means you see electronics component is imported now, right? And you have to load here. That means when user click on this link, our routing engine will verify in this table, this path is available. It will load this component there. Understood? It will load that component there. That means when user makes a request, what happens? That request will come. That request will come to routing engine. This routing engine will verify, is it there in the route table? If it is there in the route table, then it will load that and show. That is the path actually happens there. That is what happening. So same, you have to configure another route. So what is this route? So route uses a path. Route uses a path is what? Slash footwear. Then what is the element? Each element it have to give footwear element. It should import. Same, I have to define all the option route, and this is the path, and we define here slash, what is it? Fashion and element. So what is the element? Element is equal to which element to render here? Element to render here. All these are defined. Now our component will start with this. There are so many other options, still not finished. So actually we have to use an option called exact, right? We have to configure exact. That means when path is configured, we have to do. I'm just giving the scenario. We will implement it later. I'll just give the scenario. Detailed implementation we will do. Actually, now I have to start with this shopping index. So in index.htjs, we will start with which one? Shopping index. We will start with shopping index. That means our page will start with that shopping index, localhost 3000. Yeah. And you can see it starts with electronics, footwear, fashion. When I click footwear will come here. I click on fashion will come, electronics will come. So user will stay on only one page and can access everything. Right? You can access anything, whatever you have designed up to now. For example, you see I created so many components, na? Right? So many components. Suppose we created a component shopping. Shopping component is designed. Suppose user login is designed. So that means here you see, I will go into the shopping index. I will add a link here. Another list item. I will configure a link here. And this link to slash shopping. Link to shopping. And here I defined shop. So shop home. Like this I defined. And here we need to configure the route path for this. What we have to do, route and route path, if it is slash what, shopping, then which element? So element is, I have to get an element called, what is it? Shopping component. It is in components, am I right? So it is in components. We have to import that shopping component from the components. That means now your page contains shop home. It will get that and display. That means whatever you designed, everything comes here. User will stay on only one page and can access everything into that page. Right? This is what we have to implement with routing. Right? And this is single page application environment. And here a lot of things are there. It's not done. That means route parameters, how we can dynamically configure the route. Route have some important hooks to handle. So we have to learn about them. That we'll see tomorrow. Right? Tomorrow, one more time I will explain with a good scenario with our register login like screens. Then that will be a good implementation for that. Tomorrow will continue, right? Then tomorrow after explaining, I will upload this example, this kind of example. Okay. Right.